Hello, everybody. Give me just a second.
What happened?
Dang it. Check. Can you hear me better now? There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. Having technical difficulties. Now, what I was going to say is, as you can see, we are once again not joined by our intrepid hero and host, Scott McCullough. I just want to make sure I have this correct and I'm doing things fairly. He has been eaten by some sort of rabid Asian bear cat animal. Was that the excuse this week, Joe?
Listen, I want everyone to be serious. He's having some sort of intestinal issue, so I think we should all take to social media and wish him well with what he has going on this morning, because that's what friends do.
It's true. It's true. Actually, no. Joe is right. I shouldn't make something up. I will give you verbatim what I was told. Quote: I'm experiencing some Asian version of Montezuma's Revenge. So, yeah. Prayers up, everyone.
So, I say we definitely get on there, and everyone send him some sort of a note, preferably publicly. Tag him in a post about that you hope everything comes out all right, or he's able to push out the enemy.
Push through it, right? Yeah.
That's what happens when you live in a country where dried fish is the majority of the food. So what he needs to do is drink a couple bottles of soju and let nature take its course. So,
but yeah, as you can see, I am, however, joined by my good friend Joe Dolio. Joe, how are you doing this morning?
Man, I'm good. I made the speed run across the country and now been back for a full 36 hours. So we're in pretty good shape. Got caught up with everybody around here, and doing that thug life out here in Northwest Montana, where we don't worry about the EBT crisis because we don't do that here. So,
I was very pleased. I was looking up what percentage of Spudville is on EBT, and we are one of the lowest participation rates in the country. It's only 6% here.
It's all right. That's all right.
So yeah. Northwest for the win. Specifically, not the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Northwest. Well, this is Greater Montana, right? So
right. Yeah.
We're not doing Greater Idaho. We're doing Greater Montana. And we don't want the bottom part of Idaho. We want just the top part.
Oh, I see. We'll
go down
honestly,
where you live, but.
honestly, for map's sake, go ahead and take that upper part. It's honestly, it's more of a trouble to draw than anything. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like Michigan. I'm sure Michigan would love to ditch the UP. You know what I'm saying?
To me, it's a buffer zone to Washington. So.
Right? Yeah. A little rump state.
Yeah.
Folks, we have some pretty serious topics today. Well, we have one pretty serious topic and one that, as serious as it is, I can never take seriously because of who's involved. But before we get into that, we've got a host of goodies, odds and ends, and just really great stuff for you today. However, there is one bit of news that I would be absolutely remiss if I did not spread. I was supposed to have sent this to Scott already, and I feel bad that I didn't, but I got real busy and I forgot. If you are a backer of Doorkickers Bad Medicine, I can officially announce to you that your packages will be shipping today through the end of this week. I spent the last 2 days locked up in my workshop by myself. I thought I was going to have help, but that kind of fell through. packing your items. And again, because I thought that I was going to have a multi-person assembly line, I thought we were going to get this knocked out in an afternoon. But hey, it turns out that with one person, it takes a bit longer than I projected.
Right.
So foreign shipments going out of the U.S. I will tell you now, and I'll admit to you, yours will ship not very last, but close to very last, because I am double and triple checking that I don't screw anything up this time, so that they actually do make it to you. So we're going to take those ones to the post office before we seal them, and have the post office go over them with a fine-tooth comb with me, and make sure that, unlike last time, I didn't do something that doesn't jive with various countries' customs, because apparently that's where we fell down last time. But yes, all the items are here. Wait, no, not all the items are here. If you have playing cards in your order, they are still making their way to me. So everything except for the super hyper fancy orders that had the playing cards in them. Those will be here soon. I'm shipping everybody else's out now because I have everything else now. So. One last note on that one, Mr. Wrench Turner, your order will be hand delivered to you along with your 14 frozen chickens. All right.
Look at that. So your comics come with chickens, even better.
Dinner and a show. Well, all right, folks, without any further ado, let's get into the odds and ends, because we do have some very interesting ones today. And again, unfortunately, we take you to a very serious and not fun one, and goodness gracious, we even had to go with just... God, Joe, whenever we have to use this news source, it crawls right up my skin.
Right?
Why don't you introduce it, since you're the one who brought it to us?
Well, first of all, I decided that I would wake everyone up with a story right out of Al Jazeera first thing in the morning. But this is a train stabbing that occurred in the United Kingdom over the weekend. The train was headed to London, and there was a mass stabbing on it. They say it's not terrorism related, but I'm still not sure of that. It was a guy named Anthony Williams who did it. He injured 11, 2 very, very seriously, and he was taken into custody, so they might actually get him in here. What I think is most ridiculous is that one of the counts they charge him with is possession of a bladed article. You are lost as a country if possession of a bladed article is a crime, like a plastic fork. Plastic
yeah,
knife.
Yeah. Let's hold on. Let's dig into this real quick for some of our chat who might not be following. Joe, normally and in the past, they would have said a knife. Why did they say bladed article? Well, because they've now decided it doesn't necessarily have to be a traditional knife. Anything that has a sharp edge, right? They've now decided counts.
Oh, God. Box cutter. It could be one of the things you use to spread butter. I mean, it could be literally anything. But they think he was also involved in another stabbing earlier in the day at a different transit station. So who knows what his deal was. They say it's not terrorism because he wasn't known to counter-terrorist police. Oh, well, that makes it not terrorism, I guess. If you're going around public and stabbing people, it's terrorism. So...
CWSB wins.
Boy, you got a license for that house, key. Yeah. What's funny is they're saying that it can't be terrorism because they didn't know who he was and he had no criminal record. I would challenge that most people don't have one until they do. But the bigger point is, meanwhile, this guy's out here stabbing people. There was a Muslim man over the weekend who lit fire to a police vehicle. And the police put out the fire and then walked away, leaving him on top of the vehicle holding a Quran, and he was not arrested. So fascinating. Fascinating. Anyway, so this is the story behind a train attack over the weekend. The initial reports were that there were 2 attackers. It turns out there was only one. At least that's what the government there is going to tell you. But let me tell you this: if you live in a country where you don't have arms and you don't have the right to publicly disagree with your government, or they'll arrest you for your social media posts, they can tell you whatever they want, and it doesn't have to be true. So I guess we'll see.
You know, this brings up a constant internal debate because they did do the opposite side. Uh, is it better if he was not known to the police, or better that he was known to the police?
Right? It doesn't make any sense. I will point out though that a train worker actually intervened and fought this guy.
Yes.
So good for him.
Yeah.
Well done. We need more of that.
I also read that one of I think there was maybe a guard on the train or something that was attacked before a responding officer got there, because there's a guard in critical condition as well. So,
Hey, listen, if you want to learn how to deal with an attacker armed with a knife, I know a guy who teaches a combatives class where you can learn exactly that.
yeah. Yeah. I was definitely drawn to some training I had received earlier, where a particularly eager sergeant had taken some lipstick and put it on the edge of a fake K-bar, and we did some training with that about, like, hey, so you think you can deal with a guy with a knife, huh? Um, yeah, you ever want some interesting times? Do that with somebody who knows what they're doing. Yeah, stay out of a knife fight. The best way to win a knife fight is to kill the guy from 15 feet away.
Yeah, the proper response to a bladed weapon, as I teach in my class, is 3 shots to the chest. Right? I mean,
Yep.
it's a firearm, but sometimes you can't, like on the train.
Yeah.
I don't put myself in that position, but
Oh God, yeah.
sometimes you might have to.
All right. And unfortunately, our second story isn't much livelier, as a Mexican mayor was killed during the Day of the Dead celebration in Michoacan. And killed is probably not the right word here. See, when it's done for stuff like this, we generally say assassinated. Um, a mayor of Mexico's western state of Michoacan was shot dead in a plaza in front of dozens of people who had gathered for the Day of the Dead festivities. Local politicians in Mexico are frequently victims of political and organized crime violence. The mayor of the Europan municipality, Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez, was gunned down Saturday night in the town's historic center. He was rushed to a hospital where he later died. The attacker
It was
was
a pretty brutal attack. They believe it was cartel related. Because he's been a very outspoken critic of the cartels, and he's had his security detail boosted due to this. A city council member who was with him was wounded, and one of his bodyguards who got involved in a scuffle with the bad guy was also shot. The attacker's dead, but a guy just walked right up and started opening fire. It was kind of a little bit of a quick scrum of gunfire, but if you scroll down to the bottom, it mentions a little bit more about the number of security detail people added to Manzo Rodriguez. Security was reinforced last May with municipal police and 14 National Guard officers because of his public speaking against the cartel, and more importantly, speaking out against Claudia Sheinbaum. And the governor of Michoacan State, he claimed that he was corrupt and that the state police were protecting the cartels. Remember that movie called Sicario, where the state police were protecting the cartels? Crazy, right? Sicario was a documentary.
Yeah.
Of course, it was Day of the Dead, so what a great day to make that happen. There's also a lot of these cartels celebrate a religion based around the Day of the Dead called Santa Muerte, which is like a cross between voodoo and Catholicism. So it's pretty rough. It's like Santeria, but more violent. So
This is crazy stuff, man. So as I'm reading, apparently this guy was famous and was a rising political star because he people were calling him the Mexican Bukele. Um, he was actually one of the few that was apparently talking publicly about going after these groups and actually making a play of purging them. So, not great. Not great. Definitely an ally we wanted to keep around.
I have a quote that applies to that.
Go ahead.
This is a land of wolves now, and you are not a wolf. Anyway, great
Yeah.
film. If you haven't watched Sicario, go watch it.
Hey, I just wanted to say real quick, I think I missed it a minute ago, but Loki LARP, thank you once again for your 5 gifted memberships. I can tell that your OCD is going crazy because we have some new peeps in the chat. Speaking of which, welcome all you new people in the chat. Good to see you. The last one's a story that's very near and dear to my heart, and it should play into many of your calculations. Largest trucking capacity purge in history is coming. Basically, what this is saying is that between getting rid of anybody that's working on a visa that's currently in the program, getting rid of anybody who can't speak English or read basic signs, and getting rid of a bunch of people who are illegally on the program because California issued them false documents. California, Washington, Oregon, any of those three. We're about to have over 500,000 truckers go off the road in very short order. You're talking about a matter of weeks to months.
But again, though, this is a CEO screeching about his loss of cheap labor.
Yep. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
what it really is, right?
Well, so this one in particular, this guy just writes. This is the CEO of Freight Waves, which is a company that writes about it. But this guy, yes. So this 10-minute video, I'm not going to watch it here, but just know that like they're going to scare you by talking about how much freight's going to go up. Freight is going to go up. You are correct.
Oh my gosh, we have to pay fair wages instead of literally slave wages.
Well,
Oh,
and see,
no.
that's at first it won't even be that. At first, you're gonna get slaughtered, and this is everybody market wide. It's just it is what it is, guys. When we have to make changes, we have to make changes. The cost of what you're about to pay is a lot less people are going to die on the freeway, and it might be your family. Anyways, what you're going to see at first is there's just going to be 500,000 or more trucks that just stop moving for a couple weeks, and so that's going to drive freight prices through the roof, and it's going to mean that probably for a couple weeks, and I'm hoping that stores and such prepare for this
But the
by
problem is,
over
I mean, if you
ordering.
break this down, they're saying forcing these people to have to learn English and American driving laws is just going to cost too much.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
not really.
Well, and if only there were, oh, I don't know, millions of Americans off of work that had driver's licenses that already spoke English and could be very easily shuffled through a. I've seen how long these CDL courses take. It is not long, and I've seen some of the people who get shuffled through these CDL courses up to this point, and I'm saying you could get significantly better candidates than that. So, but anyways, the capacity purge is going to happen, and then shortly after that, I'm telling you guys, like, if you've been looking for a job, you might want to get on some programs now. I think there's some people in the chat who could probably point you towards some decent places. Wages for truckers are probably going to see a very large precipitous rise. Additionally, I think some conditions in the industry are about to change pretty radically. A lot of that's going to have to do with Americans that have the ability to report when things that are illegal are happening and have the ability to know what things are illegal in our country are now going to be exposed to the conditions that a lot of these trucking companies have been trying to run up to this point, which are decidedly illegal. So yeah, There's a lot of things that need to change about trucking, but you know what's funny? Truckers have been screaming that for decades. So, it,
I
if
have to
only
nip
someone
something
had
in the
listened to
bud.
them.
I have to interrupt you to nip something in the bud. Mutually assured, we have kept our chat neutral territory in the knowledge. Omega, look, don't do it. Don't do it. It's the quickest way to the ban hammer. So
Yeah, it's this is accorded neutral boiled custard ground, as
this is
Scott has
literally the
proclaimed.
YouTube and Rumble chat is literally Switzerland in the Nog Wars. So let's not let's
And
not.
remember that not everybody here agrees with that decision, but we respect Scott.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to declare your support for semen in a box, that's fine. But we're not, so we're just moving on.
But it's so thick and creamy. Oh, we know. We know that's why you like it.
Hey,
So
you can
this
whine
guy
about the
does.
First Amendment elsewhere. We're not the government.
Navigating the road ahead, I did want to read this area. So the freight industry stands at the precipice of a transformative period. The anticipated capacity of washout driven by regulatory changes and sustained market weakness will likely lead to accelerated spot raises and stabilizing contract rates as the market rebalances. Here's the deal, guys. You can watch a bunch of different documentaries that have come out over the last several years that will talk to you about how a lot of truckers now, not even foreign truckers, people from the US, that are getting into the system because there is such a glut of labor that can't report to the legal system when things go wrong. They have now started to do that to Americans, and trucking in recent times has become slave wages. So there needs to be ridiculously high spot raises for a lot of this. Guys have been going for less than $1 a mile.
So you would think that the insurance industry would have regulated this themselves, which is actually their role because they're the ones who accept the risk. But it's become so profitable that even for the insurance companies, that paying out $2 million is better than the money they're taking in, right? So
Yeah.
you you knew that the insurance industry in automobiles was cooked when in states that require insurance for you to register your car, all of a sudden the insurance companies would let you buy a 7-day insurance policy, just long enough to get license plates and then go. So that told you they weren't really about providing the service; they were about making the dollar bills.
Yeah. Well, that's it, folks. So be prepared for American roads to get significantly safer and for your everything bill to get significantly higher
And
until
incredibly less
truckers are
annoying
found.
because as I spent my days driving across the country, I went to various truck stops. Love's is my place, and at one, this story just sticks out to me, and it's exactly this. I'm in line. I'm paying for my stuff. There's a line of guys behind me, American truck drivers who are Americans, and this Indian truck driver and his wife just cut through the line and walk right up next to me to the cash register. And the girl says, "There's a whole line of people." And the woman says, "How much do I owe you?" And refuses to move. And the other guy's like, "No, I'll let her go ahead, whatever." But I was like, "No, that's not cool." That's the attitude. They're cutting in line at the truck driving and they're cutting in line at the cash registers. Just attitude problem. So
As long as we're here, I'd like to be clear too. I knew a bunch of Indian guys that had been here. Their families have been here since like the 70s and 80s. I knew them in the 90s and early aughts. Had no problem with them. It seems to be that the people who came over during that period were very much more culturally respectful and integrated. And that might be because a lot fewer of them came over at a single time.
two things about the chat. Mutant Banhammer. Bucky's is not a truck stop and they don't allow trucks to stop there.
That's
Two,
right.
mutually assured, this is a campaign that I am on. On any route from Montana to North Carolina, unless I go hours and hours out of my way, there is not a Bucky's. And I demand that Congress fix this and that a Bucky's be placed somewhere between here and North Carolina.
Look,
Thank you
all
for your
I'm saying is every rest stop in America would be a lot more restful if they just allowed Buc-ee's to open a mini Buc-ee's at each one of them. That's all that's all I'm saying.
Although I want to point out, I should have had it on the desk to show, but be prepared. Went out of his way. He stopped at a Buc-ee's for me on his way there and bought me, first of all, edible crayons. And second, he bought me a Buc-ee's store in a box that you can color and set up. So we're going to have our own Buc-ee's in the library here after we set it up. So, cool. But I will point out, be prepared, that although you didn't stop and get me food, that wonderful woman that you hang around with bought me the food that I wanted from Buc-ee's. So I'm just pointing that out. Jack's redhead, way to go.
You got a brisket sandwich?
The Buc-ee's jalapeno cheddar summer sausage is just the best.
Oh, that is good stuff. All right. Well, Joe, do you want to give us a little tactical wisdom breakdown for today?
Yeah, I'm about halfway through an article recrapping. I was reading something recapping our great week of training and all of the good stuff that went on. We were at Mountain Readiness, which was a great and fantastic event where our good buddy Wes taught some escape and evasion classes. NC Scout taught driving under night vision, and I taught land navigation. But after that, we went over to Matt's, where I had a big group of people in my fieldcraft class where they learned individual movement and map reading and all of that. And then we slid right into NC Scout's Scout and Recce courses where we had some great times doing things. Again, Doc Clark, I'm sorry for the horrible things that happened to Josh and Will. Sort of, but not really. Poor Will comes around the corner and just sees the barrel of a gun and was like, oh, crap. And then I shot it. But it was a good time. We had a lot of fun. But more important than the classes and the great skills you learn is the camaraderie afterward and the hanging out and building of networks and building of friendships that'll stay with you a lifetime. I mean, man, the Clark family is like an adopted family of mine just because of time spent together after events at various places and a lot of good people there. There he is. I knew Doc Clark would pop in here. Hey, good morning, boss. Anyway, but you build such a great community there. Through doing these classes and going to these events, there are men I've met I consider brothers, and I mean that in a real literal sense, right? Anyone who gets around me and NC Scout, we're in the same place, will swear that we are brothers. And you have to get out and meet your mutuals. You have to spend that face-to-face time building actual real-world relationships with people. And you can't do that online. You can create a foundation online, but you actually have to get out there and make things happen. So,
speaking of making things happen,
I'm actually. It was supposed to have already been out. I am in a rush so that you can give it to all of your friends as a Christmas gift this year. But I recommend you just go ahead and give them the whole set. Make it happen.
Facts. This would be a great year for it. You know what I'm saying? Well, actually, last year would have been a great year for it, but the next best year would be this year.
Hey, Nick Dev says it's like church. Actually, it is. And every time I'm at an event, I do give a Sunday service. The folks who attended the one at Mountain Readiness really enjoyed it when I talked about your commands in this moment in time, and they are not to be timid and peaceful and turn the other cheek, just so you know. But yeah, it's a lot like church, building community, spending time together. Having meals together is vitally important.
All right. With that being said, let me go on to the next sponsor of the show. That's going to be brushbeater.store. I don't know if you guys noticed, but look right up here at the top. Financing options now available through $17,000 through Shop Pay. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but if your need for one of these optics is higher than your need for that extra money long term, it's an option. Head on over to brushbeater.store. Use code CFC10 for 5% off on all checkout items. I don't know if they have any classes listed for the. Oh no, they do. They've got their winter.
He put
stuff
up his
listed.
first half of 2026 schedule. So, and the February courses are up, and we had some conversation about potentially we'll run Fieldcraft again before it, and potentially running community security apps afterward because a lot of guys asked for it. So we may be adding on to that end of February stuff into the first week of March. So
And in fact,
a lot of good stuff.
The next course I see coming up is going to be their HF NVIS course on November 14th through the 16th.
Listen, man, NVIS communications is an important thing, and it will get you thousands of miles when done right. So great class to take. Vitally important.
And a bunch of cold, freeze your butt off stuff coming up in December and February.
Let me answer a chat question. CWSB. TW box set when? If you buy a set of books, I will put them in a box.
You know what, Joe? I this might be a little. I don't want to promise anything, but might you even take your custom drawings and move them from an index card to the outside of the box?
Yeah, we could do that too. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Derna, I'm gonna stab you. You will be paid.
I told Joe I think the perfect gift for him would be you guys know the retractable stage knives where the blade goes into the handle. I told him we need to get him a retractable bayonet.
Right.
All right. So let's get all the giggles out now, because next topic that we're about to get into is unfortunately incredibly serious. Guys, there's a well, I don't know what you call it. There is a genocide happening against Nigerian Christians in northern Nigeria. I know that we've poked around it before, but we're actually going to dig into some of what's going on, why it's going on, and who's doing it today. Oh, hold on. I apologize. Give me a second. Feats 810. Okay.
It's Patrick. So yeah.
Oh, Patrick. Okay. Apologize. I'm a few minutes behind here in Michigan. We are pulling people's licenses for not being able to speak English. Just keeping it quiet. Nice.
Yeah, the Michigan State Police Motor Carrier Division has always been a little bit based, and they're probably just they're fulfilling the law 100%. But I bet you that the Attorney General of Michigan would not be happy to know that. And I don't know why but YouTube for the last couple of weeks has been displaying everybody's names in some ghetto fashion. So
yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, go Team Michigan. All right, so Nigerian president responds to Trump's call for military action against Christian persecution. The Nigerian government on Sunday responded to a warning from U.S. President Donald Trump. The United States could take military action in the African nation if its government does not do more to curb the... Well, hold on, I just filled that in. Way to go, Jack Phillips of the Epic Times. Do more. Do more. Does not more. Yeah, it doesn't work. For the persecution of Christians there by Islamic terrorists. I'm going to pause. As Joe and I were just discussing, it's partially accurate, but it doesn't paint the whole picture. It's not just Islamic terrorists. It appears to be a range war.
Yeah, it's all began as a range war between goat herders and farmers. But in Nigeria, the goat herds tend to be Islamic or animist religions, and the farmers tend to be Christians. Now, I imagine that there's some sort of a historical basis for that. Some folks think ahead, some folks don't. But hey, what do I know? But it began as a fight over cleared areas because there aren't a lot of them in northern Nigeria. So it started out that way, and then it digressed into an Islamic versus Christian battle.
Yeah.
Boko Haram is behind most of it, but not all.
Oh, well, hey, this was not the message I expected to hear. From the Nigerian president, we welcome U.S. assistance as long as it recognizes their territorial integrity. I, I bet. Uh,
No, they're
oh,
definitely willing to accept help in fighting Boko Haram, no matter who it comes from, and they'd like to help. So what's funny is that he made this comment, but the leftist media left off the part where they welcomed the help. They just said, "Oh no," he said they have to respect our sovereignty. Actually, he said, "Hey, no, we would love their help in fighting Boko Haram as long as we're involved." And
I,
which is very different from the way the media painted this.
yeah. I mean, I like legitimately. Which airbase can we use? I bet we'll be there next week. That's not even an exaggeration. We'll bring the Burger King ourselves. Don't worry about that.
The problem you have is that in Nigeria they speak over 500 different languages. Uh,
mm,
it is kind of hard to get everyone on the same page. It's kind of a weird thing, and the religion groups, there are so many that they don't really even list the different ones because while Christianity and Islam are the majority, there's about a million other different animist religions or tribal religions that are out there as well. The Muslims are predominantly in the north, Christians are predominantly in the south.
well, hey, real quick, I'm gonna address a couple of chats here. First of all, Durna, that God damn. Um, if any of you have never had the pleasure of listening to BBC Pigeon, you should. It's official. They release it every day. It is the Pigeon English version of the BBC broadcast. Mutually Assured asks, by help, do they mean money? No, actually. Funnily enough, if we were just going to give money, they wouldn't be asking for us to recognize their territorial integrity. Uh, that's something you say when you're about to let some people use some of your air bases to bring in air assets in order to let your guys have air support. Um, let's see. The characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians.
So
I
that's where the difference comes in. Tanubo is the vice president, and he said, "No, no, no, we respect religious freedom." Okay, well, the Nigerian government aren't the ones who are killing the Christians, so that's
yeah,
not even in dispute. Sure, the Nigerian government allows religious freedom and they defend those rights, but they don't control the northern half of their country. Boko Haram does.
yeah.
So this is the media again overplaying something that's irrelevant. And Tanubo might be some sort of a sympathizer with Boko Haram or someone who's anti-U.S. making this claim that no, but we do this. That has nothing to do with you. It has to do with Boko Haram.
Let's see. He also said Nigeria is a country that has constitutional guarantees to protect citizens of all faiths. All right, yeah, what Joe said, like that may be true. They may be trying and making a quote sincere effort. I'm not even going to say that like look, is the government probably infiltrated with Boko Haram sympathizers and that's part of why Boko Haram gets away with what they do? Yeah, probably. Um, but are other parts of the government probably sincerely trying to fight them? Sure. It's just they're a failed state.
Here's the problem. Have you ever met the average African soldier?
Oh
And
yeah. Well, yeah.
once you have,
Hold
you
on.
realize there's not much he can do.
We
So,
have a video for this actually.
oh yes, of the Nigerian Reserve
Yeah.
Special
No,
Ops.
I thought these were special forces, Joe. Come on. Let's view that video now. I feel it probably fits here quite well. Chat, prepare yourselves. I don't know if you're quite ready for this level of military excellence. Look at the precision, the
Look at this.
tactical fanny packs.
What I personally find great is if you look around their heads, they've got leaves tucked in, a little bit of personal
Yeah.
camouflage going on, and yet they're wearing red shoes and white shorts. Small editorial note for the troops in training: the underwear go under your clothing, not
Yes.
on top.
Well, see,
No
funnily enough,
trouble.
only the middle two rows seem to have had this problem.
And listen, I would not allow a student above the age of 8 years old to pass their yellow belt test with those weak kicks. So I'm certainly not going to allow Nigerian forces to do it either.
Oh, you know what? I have to say though, I just realized. Good job on the Doc Martens, though. I have to say, if you're gonna be clomping around like that, good lord. Yeah. Imagine trying to fight a decent force with that. Trump
Omega,
tells
fantastic. The 3rd Durka Battalion, fantastic. Imagine all those princes having to go to war. Oh, the chat's just fantastic.
All right, but Trump says, 3 hours ago, Trump said exactly what I said, which is, they said we could come? All right, gear up, boys. Trump tells military to prepare for action against Islamic militants in Nigeria. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered the military to prepare for action in Nigeria to tackle Islamist militant groups, accusing the government of failing to protect Christians. Trump did not say which killings he was referring to, but claims of a genocide against Nigerian Christians have been circulating in recent weeks and months, and in some right-wing U.S. circles. Oh my God! Of course. Thank you, BBC. Thank you for reminding me. If I didn't see the title at the top, I would still have known this was written by the BBC. Groups monitoring violence say there is no evidence to suggest that Christians are being killed more than Muslims in Nigeria. Oh, so they're fighting back, is what you're saying?
Well, actually, first of all, this is a completely false claim. Groups monitoring violence say there's no evidence. Who are these groups, and what methodology did they use? Because it's absolutely false. Hundreds of Christians are killed every month in Nigeria. There are some Muslims killed too, including by Boko Haram, but nowhere near the number. It is not evenly divided.
Billy Blows. Boxers on the outside and bum bags. Those must be SOL guys.
Yeah. Well done.
Oh boy. President Trump, which Christian killings are you sending troops into Nigeria to stop? All of them. Yeah, I'm not going to trust any more of these groups monitoring violence. These are all generally the same groups that were monitoring violence in Palestine, or groups that were monitoring violence in various other places, where they've just, Syria, where they've just allowed this shit to happen, unchecked until after it's over, in which case they raise a stink about it, largely as a demoralization effort, I feel. He also said the jihadists were not targeting members of particular... Yeah, I don't... We're done listening to that garbage. Trump wrote in a social media post on...
This is Nigeria. Yeah, it's very good. This is Nigeria.
Group monitoring the violence, blue helmets, likely. Trump wrote on a social media post on Saturday that he had instructed the U.S. Department of War to prepare for possible action. On Saturday, Trump reiterated that his country could deploy troops to Nigeria or carry out airstrikes to stop the alleged killings. Well, I mean, here's the thing about airstrikes. At least modern airstrikes. There are some actions you can take without having somebody highlighting stuff on the ground. This, in my opinion, does not appear to be one of those situations. How are you going to know which group of tents is the bad guys and which group of tents is...
And let me point out something really, really big here that most people don't get, and I'm gonna hurt some feelings out here, but amongst the drone lovers of the world. We were highly successful in Iraq and Afghanistan with the drone program because those are desert nations with absolutely no overhead cover.
Yeah.
The opposite is the situation in Nigeria. You have dense triple canopy jungle over the vast majority of the nation. You're not finding these guys with drones. You're going to have to put people on the ground in order to find them. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Not saying air support's not going to help, but you have to have somebody to guide the air support in. Otherwise, what are they shooting at?
By the way, well done, Andrew Thorsten. Greta Thunberg is getting a dashiki fitted. That's and preparing to attack her own boat yet again.
Yeah, I was going to say, getting that flare gun warmed right up.
Listen, though, if she tries to sail her boat into Lagos Harbor, she will probably actually get attacked and killed by pirates. That's a real problem in Nigeria, especially in the delta of the river there. So,
you know what? There's one more thing I want to bring up from this. I didn't see this. Trump said, if we attack, it would be fast, furious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. God, I love that man. All right. Trump's really getting serious about this, eh? Actually, the next story appears to just be a repeat of the same from a different source. And then we've got kind of a weird source on this. Joe, you brought this to us. Huh? Nicki
What?
Minaj thanks Trump for threatening military action against Nigeria?
look, you know
What
it's a
timeline is this?
operation when it has the blessing of Nicki Minaj, well-known international expert. Nicki Minaj.
What timeline are we?
And you know she's sincere. When a girl is sincere about her Christian beliefs, she frequently parades around on stage in lingerie singing. It's a very Christian thing to do. So. Nicki Minaj is a smart version of Cardi B. I'm going to stop you right there, Derna, and I'm going to say smarter, but not smart. So.
In response, Nicki Minaj, who is from the Caribbean country of Trinidad and Tobago, so not even from Nigeria, wrote on X with a screenshot of Trump's post stating that it made her feel a deep sense of gratitude for living in a country where she could freely worship God. Okay.
And then look at her outfit. She's worshiping God, all right.
Yeah. I cool. Thanks, Nikki. I think.
As long as the mission is blessed by Nicki Minaj, it will be a resounding success.
Right? Many paths. Ugh. All right.
You know what? Hold on. I have to acknowledge this. Gene, you are right. Nicki Minaj is better than Pam Bondi. You know what? I can't fault that. I mean,
you know what? That is actual solid logic, and I hate that is right. So what to know is Nigeria rejects U.S. military threat. They did? What? Yeah, so you cannot unilaterally carry out a military operation in Nigeria. Right. But they also said they'd welcome our help as long as we respect their territorial integrity. So
this is, again, a symptom of the fact that Americans and Western society in general is too lazy to actually read the article, right? They're like, oh, Nigeria rejects U.S. military threat. Oh, okay. But they didn't at all. They said, okay, yeah, come on in. Just let us know, and let's do it together.
Independence, not so independent, it would seem.
You don't hate the media enough.
Facts. Here's 5 things to know about the issue. Well, except for then they don't actually bullet point them. Fucking
They say
retards.
that this is the Independent says that their claims are baseless. There's no fact that Christians are being attacked. Yet almost every day there's a news story about a Christian church being burned to the ground or being attacked in Nigeria. Well, then they always come back with, well, it's both Muslims and Christians being attacked. Okay,
So
but you said there was no basis to say Christians are being attacked. They
so in
are.
some scenarios, Christians are fighting back. Ah, and that means no help is needed. Gotcha. Yeah. Does the Independent even actually like? Hold on, somebody's saying it's a bad newspaper, but let's be honest. Do they actually publish a paper edition anymore, or are they just an online shit rag? Because I'm pretty
No,
sure they
it
probably.
still publishes a paper.
So, in the face of all this denial, let's wind the clock back to September 23rd. I know that was a very long time ago for everybody. So long ago it practically doesn't exist, right? But Nigerian Christians are afraid to gather as attacks by Islamist herders mount.
Huh. That almost implies that one side is doing the violence and the other side is on the receiving end. Crazy. Weird. Anyway.
Ruth Abba, 28, no longer walks to her local church, St. Paul's, which now lies in ashes. Instead, the mother of two locks her doors and prays with her children, fearful the next attack could come at any moment. On August 11th, suspected Fulani herdsmen stormed the compound of the Catholic church in the village of Atwar in central Nigeria, setting the church, rectory, and parish offices ablaze, along with vehicles and other property. Earlier raids had already forced the parish's 26 outstations to shut down. The latest assault have sent the remaining residents fleeing into the bush, leaving the parish grounds and surrounding community eerily deserted. The destruction of St. Paul's is a stark sign of how attacks by Fulani jihadists who champion Islam but are disavowed by many Muslims is hollowing out once thriving Christian communities across the region. Known as Nigeria's food basket, Benue State has become the center of violence that has left thousands dead this year. I used to be in church every Sunday singing in the choir, Abba said in a phone interview. Now I keep the doors locked. If I hear voices shouting at night, I pray silently. If they see me walking to church with a Bible, they could kill me. Yeah, sounds like everything's fine here, you know. Muslims might sometimes, also get it in the neck too. Who knows? A new report by the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, known as the Inter-Society, paints a grim picture. The first 7 months of 2025 alone, Islamist groups killed 7,087 Christians and abducted almost 8,000 others because of their faith. The country now sees an average of 30 Christians killed every day, making Nigeria the most dangerous place in the world to be a Christian. Boy, what a grim title to have taken off of Syria.
So
well, I suppose that's because there's not many left in Syria, right? So
when people say that they're not being persecuted in Nigeria, it's completely false. And the few Fulani tribesmen who have been killed in response were killed while defending farms or defending churches. So it's not exactly as painted in the Western media. Shocking, I know.
Well, that's it for that segment. I don't know, Joe. What do we think's going to happen here? I think the attitude is
strikes.
Yeah.
I think that we'll probably see one or two ground operations, because in order to conduct an actual airstrike in that area, you need assets on the ground to confirm what is where. So there'll probably be some stuff. I would be shocked. Well, hold on. Let me just straight up say this. There are contractors already working on the ground in Nigeria, mostly for non-government organizations protecting churches and aid compounds. Those people could very easily be given some supplemental income to go and snap a few photos and do a few things. So it's entirely possible. And yes,
maybe
ironically, this is where we insert Danny Archer saying, "This is Africa."
Maybe we just, pass out a few designators to people who know how to use them.
Yeah. And for the record, the last piracy attack in Lagos Anchorage was on the 16th of October. Noticed people boarding the vessel. The last piracy attack in the world was this morning in Mogadishu. 4 pirates with rifles fired on a tanker. The onboard armed guard fired a shot, and they turned around and went away. Proof that if you are armed and defend yourself, bad guys will just find an easier target than you.
Every time. All right,
But
guys.
the last 5 piracy attacks, 3 have been in West Africa, 2 in Congo and 1 in Nigeria.
It's getting pretty crazy. Are piracy attacks on the rise?
No, just no one knows about them. I only know about them because it's my job to know about them.
No, of course. I was just more curious. I was just more curious if we're in an upward or downward trend.
Well, let me. I'm going to give everybody. I'm going to drop a link in here, just because I like our people to be more informed than their friends. But this is a link to the live piracy reporting map, and this gets updated every time a piracy attack happens. They put it on the map and they describe it. Right now, there's a big map up there of Singapore docks because there's been particular problems there. But when you look at this, you can zoom it out to whatever attack you want, and I'm going to drop it in both chats so you can amaze your friends with your knowledge of piracy in the world.
Who doesn't want to be a pirate expert?
Who doesn't want to be a pirate expert?
All right, guys. So let's talk about Trump versus the world, and to start with, no one is framing it this way, but the powers of the executive branch fundamentally changed this morning, or yesterday morning. Albeit maybe temporarily, hopefully only temporarily. Doesn't look like it though, unless somebody challenges this. A Rhode Island federal judge, if I'm not mistaken, the same one who ordered Trump. Let's just back it up. So, SNAP is still off for the moment. A federal judge, basically one of these district court bullshit judges that shouldn't be able to make rulings like this, ruled that Trump has to use funds which Congress had not already allocated to be used for SNAP in order to keep it funded, thereby stating that the executive branch, if it sees a need, can just spend money without allocation, fundamentally breaking one of the checks and balances in our government. Am I missing something here, Jeff?
I want to point out a couple of things here. The judicial branch has exactly no authority to compel anyone to spend $1 of federal money. So that's ludicrous. 2, as spelled out very early on in the Constitution, all appropriations must begin in the House of Representatives. The president is not involved other than signing the checks. Pretty simple. If they want SNAP funded, pass a bill. Ironically, the SNAP bill, the entire authorization for SNAP ran out with this bill. Donald Trump didn't kill it. They did by not passing a bill. Very simple.
Solid facts. More so, I wonder how this decision is affected by, I don't know if you saw this, but the Democrats' plan on exactly when they're going to stop the shutdown leaked.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Well, basically, the Democrats, it leaked. It was a memo that had went out. I think that this had leaked this morning. I'm a little unclear. I read this article and then we did show prep, and now I don't quite fully remember the whole thing. But essentially, it's leaked that Democrats are planning on ending the shutdown on the 4th. Basically, they wanted to keep it open through the weekend because there were elections happening. That they felt like the shutdown would help them on those elections. So, yeah, apparently they're going to end the shutdown either today or tomorrow.
Let me point out that if you think you're having problems with SNAP now and food costs now, wait until Mamdani starts running city-owned grocery stores. Then you're going to learn a real lesson. So,
By the way, I love all the people who, in response to this, have essentially been pitching city-owned grocery stores as the replacement for SNAP. Well done. You played yourself. So yeah.
mutually assured, you just got 1 minute timeout. We're not going to take this.
Oh no. Somebody's going to make that with an AI now. You know that, right? Boy. So, more Trump talk. Trump tariff deal with China opens door for Operation Warp Speed 2.0 to exit Beijing's rare earth trap. That's a mouthful of a headline, but to get to the bottom
of all, he shouldn't be calling anything Warp Speed 2.0 because Warp Speed was not a win. I'm just throwing that out there.
He keeps claiming it even now, though. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. He doesn't talk about it as much. Somebody's got in his ear and been like, Mr. President, nobody liked that. 2 weeks after a sudden flare-up over Chinese rare earth mineral exports nearly sparked another market meltdown, the issue has been resolved, at least according to the Trump administration. According to a fact sheet published by the White House on Saturday, which outlines some details of the trade pact agreed to earlier this week by President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, China will effectively suspend implementation of additional export controls on rare earth metals and will issue general licenses valid for export of rare earth metals, gallium and germanium, for the benefit of U.S. end users and their suppliers around the world, meaning the effective removal of controls Chinese imposed in April and October, April of this year and October 2022. The U.S. and China previously said Beijing would suspend more restrictive controls announced in October 2025 for 1 year. Washington will also pause some of Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs on China for an additional year and is halting plans to implement a 100% tariff on Chinese exports to the U.S. that was threatened for November. The White House also said the U.S. will further extend the expiration of certain Section 301. Oh, I don't care about any of this.
Look, y'all, I could do this all day. Keep it up. I'm sorry.
So let's see some of what China agreed to, shall we? China will suspend the global implementation of the expensive new export controls on rare earths. China will issue general... Yeah, we already talked about that. China will make significant measures to end the flow of fentanyl. Okay, stop. Make significant measures. We have yet again allowed them to agree to something which has no definition and which can be easily sidestepped. Why do we keep doing this? It's like a friend has continuously been giving himself a concussion every day with a frying pan. And you see him, and he says, I will make the best effort possible to not beat myself to death with a frying pan today. As he grabs the frying pan and starts beating himself over the head with it. What the fuck are we doing? China will suspend all of the retaliatory tariffs that it has announced since March 4th. China will suspend or remove all of the retaliatory non-tariff countermeasures. China will purchase at least 12 million metric tons of soybeans. China will take appropriate measures to ensure the resumption of trade from Nexperia's facilities in China, allowing production of critical legacy chips. China will remove measures it took in retaliation for U.S.'s announcement of a Section 301 investigation into China's targeting the maritime logistics and shipbuilding sectors for dominance, and remove sanctions imposed on various shipping entities. China will further extend the expiration of its market-based tariffs exclusions. China will terminate its various investigations targeting U.S. companies in the semiconductor supply chain. Huh. I'm sorry. I feel like we just negotiated nothing for nothing.
Yeah.
I
There's a great comment. Stevie J said, China, we're not sending the fentanyl. Also China. Okay, we'll send less of it.
every time. Every time.
Yeah, Andrew Thorson, that's exactly what's happening, but that doesn't change the fact that it's coming from China originally.
Well, and it's being done intentionally too. Let's remember this, right? This is where a lot of ANCAPs get their panties in a twist. This is not being done as a market force. China's not sending fentanyl. China, as a nation, does not have a government level policy of sending fentanyl over here as a money making endeavor. They don't make that much money on the prime ingredients that they're sending to the cartels. It's chemicals. It's bulk chemicals at that. Like the margins on that is less than 5%. China's not doing this for the money. China's doing this because they see it as a revenge for the opium wars. I'm not even exaggerating. They've openly stated, multiple government agencies have stated this in multiple different occasions. Not recently, but this is their revenge for the opium wars. They're trying to destroy our society by weaponized selling of hyper deadly, hyper addictive fake opioids. And they will continue to do it. I'm telling you now, if we actually get them to agree to stop fentanyl, do you know why they will have agreed to stop fentanyl?
Why?
Because they will have invented a secondary hyperfentanyl, which is a completely different chemical that has the exact same name.
It's crazy.
Yes, long memories. You could say that, or you could say institutionalized long and distorted memories. Crazy what 50 years of allowing the CCP to fully operate the entire information ecosystem as well as the schooling system will get you. Do you know what they call the period of the Opium Wars through the Japanese invasion of China? The Century of Humiliation. When you see students in China, when you see videos of students in Chinese schools doing stuff like stomping on American flags and doing that kind of stuff, that's what they're studying at that time. That's why they're so worked up. Oh yeah, I should also add, Stevie's got a point here too. China makes very little distinction between the English and the Americans during that time period. So,
okay.
Moving on to more China talk. White House unveils details of U.S.-China deal, including resolution for Nexperia auto chips. So auto manufacturers are happy, which is, I'm sure, why Trump is happy. Again, I've already gone through each of what these promises are. I hope some of this works out. I don't think it will. I think Trump is negotiating in good faith with people who cannot be negotiated with in good faith. They are incapable of good faith negotiations. So, I hope we don't get burned as badly on this as I suspect we're about to be.
Well, I want to point out something. When they say they're going to enforce fentanyl smuggling out of China is not a thing without government approval. So they can say they're not involved all they want, but nothing leaves China that the government doesn't know about or get paid to allow to go
out. Before we move on to our last story, your Arctic boy, he's been a member for a lot more than 5 months. That must just be contiguous. It's a dual attack on the two biggest threats to China, U.S. via addiction and India via the use of funds to prop up Khalistani terrorism. Yep.
Yeah, Arctic boy. Speaking of H-1Bs,
in case you're not aware, everybody, say hello to our newest temporary American resident, you Arctic boy.
Not just American resident, Montana resident.
That's right. we're very happy to have him. Unlike most, we hope he's able to bargain that and negotiate it into residency. Um, I'll be excited to help you study for your citizenship test, my friend.
I hope he doesn't have a hard time learning English, because whatever it is that boy speaks is not English. I don't know what this is all about. Can I have $1? I have fun making fun of Canadian accents.
Our final story is an interesting one, folks, and it's one I've been talking about for a while, but now people have proof. European billionaires funneled over $2 billion via transatlantic NGO networks to erode U.S. democracy and finance anti-Trump protest machine. A new bombshell report by Americans for Public Trust, APT, based on IRS Form 990s and media reports, reveals that 5 foreign charities have funneled nearly $2 billion into American leftist nonprofits, injecting what can only be described as a far-left extremist European policy agenda and toxic social engineering campaign into U.S. institutions like cancer. The report alleges that these foreign influence operations exploiting the dark webs of the NGO world also bankroll part of the protest industrial complex that has been waging an ongoing color revolution-style operation against President Trump, his supporters, and seeks to dismantle the Make America Great Again movement. APT's 31-page analysis, first revealed on Fox News, backed by Grant Records, shows that while foreign nationals can't directly donate to U.S. political candidates, there's an alarming interconnected web of transatlantic funding networks into the NGO world where foreign billionaires bankroll American far-left nonprofits to unleash all sorts of activist campaigns. This unchecked foreign philanthropy risks undermining U.S. sovereignty, and according to APT Executive Director Caitlin Sutherland, who told Fox News, foreign money is coming in and it's trying to erode our democracy. Here are the 5 foreign funders outlined in the report. Quadrature Climate Foundation out of the UK, KR Foundation out of Denmark, Oak Foundation out of Switzerland, Louds Foundation out of Switzerland, and the Children's Investment Fund Foundation out of the UK. So it's mostly the UK. Joe, I'm going to say something now that I've said many times, and I mean it now more than I ever have. Okay. We should bomb London. We should bomb London.
But that doesn't really do anything to the UK because London is no longer part of the UK.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if we bomb London, almost every person who is responsible for this will be killed, and almost no Englishman will be killed. We should bomb London.
I believe that AUMF, the Authorization for the Use of Military Force that covers ISIS and the Syrian civil war, would cover London as well. But
yeah, it's
controlled by ISIS, right? There we go.
So, Quadrature Climate Foundation, founded in 2019 by hedge fund billionaire Greg Skinner and Suneli Setia, has given roughly $500 million to 41 U.S. groups, including Climate Works Foundation, Growald Climate Fund, Grantham Foundation, Windhurst Fund, the Sunrise Project, and more. KR Foundation, Danish climate charity tied to the Carlsberg family, has provided $36 million to 53 U.S. groups backing climate litigation, ESG advocacy, fossil fuel divestment. Major recipients include the Center for International Environmental Law, Conservation Law Foundation, Oil Change International, and Fossil Free Media. It's funded the Associated Press for climate-related programs. The Oak Foundation is a Swiss-based trust fund by British billionaire Alan Parker. Oh, so British yet again. Giving over $750 million to 151 U.S. groups advancing climate justice and lawsuits against fossil fuel firms. Key recipients include Environmental Law Institute, Community Change, Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, New Venture Fund, NRDC, and Tide Center. The Tide Center's that one's just... Jesus.
I want to issue a correction. Phil Coggins, you said that the only Englishman left in London is Prince Charles. The House of Windsor originated in Germany. So I'm just saying.
We're joined by a very distinguished and special guest. Welcome, Jim. How are you today? Was it my talk of bombing London that brought you out?
Yeah, that'll do it. Good to see you guys. How you doing today?
Well and good.
Doing pretty good. Doing better than Scott. Many of you who weren't here in the beginning asked where Scott is. I'll tell you again. And I'm reading a direct quote here. Gentlemen, I am suffering from some sort of Asian version of Montezuma's revenge. End quote. So.
Whoa. Yeah.
Wow.
This is our top story of the day, apparently.
It's okay. You'll lose some weight. Good to see you guys. So, you done with Nigeria?
We did do some talk about Nigeria. Do you want us to go back and talk about that a bit?
No. I'll pick up where you are, but Nigeria is interesting, and there's a lot that goes on there. It's time for transitioning away from the older guys and getting some new young people who are already mega wealthy to take the reins in the country and do it right. So
yeah, it'd be exciting.
They're at that point.
It's interesting how they said, yes, we'll take the help as long as you respect our territorial integrity, and the media said no.
Well, the key is that the army's underfunded. It's a big country, and you have a lot of tribal breakup. It's a difficult place to operate. And if you're in that northeastern corner, it's always been wild, So you have cross interests, and you have the historical problems with the Chinese miners across the border and the Russians protecting the miners, and the whole Africa thing we talked about for 3 or 4 years. So I wish the Nigerians good luck, because again, you gotta give the Christians a hand, because they're isolated up there, and they haven't been getting much help.
Yeah. Well, we are actually talking about our final story of the day here, which is the European billionaires who funneled $2 billion via transatlantic NGO networks into basically the color revolution happening against Trump. That's what brought on my bomb the UK statement. Here's the interesting thing that we just found out. So it turns out that they keep calling this European, but when you look into it, it's UK, Denmark, Switzerland, except for this one out of Switzerland is not actually Switzerland. This is a, what do you call it? When somebody dies and they've got way too much money and they start a foundation under their name, but it's run out of Switzerland, and it's another UK billionaire.
What's the name of the foundation?
Let's see. That would be the Oak Foundation. That's founded by British billionaire Alan Parker.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. I didn't think he was hard left, but that's interesting.
Well, it's funny. A lot of these folks whose foundations are run by radical leftists were not hard left. I believe that this is something that Republicans and conservatives in general need to get through their head, which is if you leave one of these foundations, you are largely just leaving a pool of money for leftists to come along and gain control of. It happened to the Ford Foundation. It happened to almost all of the American large philanthropic places, the Carnegies, that have left large pools of money. They're all run by hard leftists now.
Yeah. It's interesting. My difficulty is that we allow so much foreign money to come in, but it all comes from the U.S. desire for individual rights and free speech, and they get way out over their skis on this stuff, and it does kind of degrade into propaganda. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm looking at them. They do pretty much everything wrong. Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Women's issues, girls to be free and safe. Boy, you'd think that they'd be really into the concurrence of the conservative American principles. But I guess not.
That. No,
yeah.
Well, but I don't know. Does this expose something underlying? They would be for our principles in general, but it's the big orange man whom they hate who is let's be honest, if I look at Europe, it seems more like the social welfare dependents that are getting angry because basically it's they're like the Snap rioters. They really are. They're just a little more sophisticated and a different color.
So where are we vis-a-vis money for Snap? Where's it?
So we had talked about that earlier, but let's good to bring it up again. We have very interesting dual things going on. Snap is going to get funded one way or the other. One way is that a federal judge has essentially usurped our entire checks and balances system and has told the executive branch that it must spend money which has not been pre-allocated for Snap on Snap because it's an emergency. And the White House very predictably said, okay, we're not going to fight that decision.
Trump is not against funding Snap.
Nope. Well, not only is Trump not against funding Snap, Trump told the Republicans they should go nuclear in order, like nuke filibuster in order to get Snap passed, which retarded. Like utterly retarded.
Everybody's kind of losing their mind here in anticipation of tomorrow's election, and then maybe there'll be some rationalization.
Well, so that has leaked. Some Democrat staffer with half of a conscience left leaked some memo from Schumer that essentially says that they're going to end it on the 4th. They're going to end the shutdown on the 4th. They want to leave it open today for those elections because they feel that it'll help them in those elections. But that ultimately, overall, it's hurting them. It's hurting them badly nationally. They feel that it'll help them locally on those elections, but it's hurting them nationally. So they're waiting to get through those elections, and then they're going to end it immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think you've happened onto a really interesting period of sensitivity where you've got all of these global organizations that had a pretty good deal in the United States with what the Bidens and the Obamas and the Clintons had put together. So much of this offshore kind of trust world, I think is the best way to call it, is where the super wealthy stashed all their money to do good things. All of that was architected to be part of what USAID was, which was the gravity piece of it. So they were all drafting that gravity piece, and now USAID has been cut back, and all of a sudden everybody's running around saying, "Well, my God, we'd have to use our money to do that now." So I think all these big nonprofits or these family trusts or these organizations that you mapped are trying to come in here and figure out how they can turn the machine back on, right? What they don't understand is they're not going to be able to turn the machine back on. And Trump has officially curtailed USAID as a mechanism to drive this World Economic Forum quasi-European globalism. Globalism is now fragmented, and everybody is scrambling to make sense of it for themselves. And they're trying to blame Trump, but it isn't Trump's fault. It got way out and unsustainable. And the unsustainable piece was the U.S. budget being nearly $40 trillion in the hole. It's unsustainable for the United States. And so I'm glad we recognized it when we did. But these groups are going to keep trying to do goofy shit. And all you can say to the American voters is get out and vote for people who want to do what's good for Americans. And God forbid, America First is a reasonable approach to it. Governments in Europe have a very big problem, which is they just don't have the money to do what they need to do well. And they were relying on us for defense, and they were relying on us for global largesse, and they were relying on the UN and us for Africa and the Middle East. And now all of a sudden they're trying to figure out what that means. So their mission would be completely undercut.
Well, before anybody feels too bad for them, why is it that they don't have the money to do any of that, Jim?
Well, it's because they run massive left-wing deficits, and they have very large pension schemes, and they retire at 55, and they have very high taxes, and there's a disincentive to invest and innovate. And I'm hoping that breaks in this new cycle. But what's interesting about Europe is they do what's in Europe's interest. So the Germans are doing what's in German interest. The French are doing what's in French interest. The British
I,
can't seem to make a decision. Canada can't seem to make a decision.
I would say I would agree. I would add a caveat though. I would say that Europe does what's best for the European autocrats,
Yeah, the
not
question is
necessarily for the people.
who are the who are the European autocrats these days? I mean, it's a weird mix of old money, new
Yeah.
money, and I would opine that some of the autocrats now in Europe are the neo-nationalists. I mean, you look at Le Pen's party in France doing really well. You look at Germany, conservatives doing really well. Austria really well. Scandinavia turning it around. Finland definitely is online. Uh, so Europe, I think some of the young leaders in Europe are going to buck the system fairly effectively, and I think it's going to be really hard within the EU in the next couple of years because
That'd be
people are going to call bullshit.
well. That'd be excellent. My only question for you then is: does it feel like the flavor of Europe finally shaking off and coming out of its museum phase? Is that going to be a pro American a move, or is this going to be a move away from us and more into actual independence, which would both be good and bad for us?
Well, I think it's going to be independence as far as they can take independence because they're all too small to do it alone. So they have to do networks within networks, right? So they're going to be subsets of the EU and subsets of NATO that'll have tighter cooperation, right? And they'll do cost sharing on big investments in infrastructure and defense. In NATO, they can't sustain that 5% that they all talk about. So there'll be these, the rise and fall of the 3% being called 5% of the budget. They will begin sharing in equipment. It'll drive some interesting commonality in various countries. So you'll see the Scandinavians make a bet together. You'll see the German cluster make a bet. You'll see the Polish and the Baltics make a bet. You'll see a lot of that. But people will choose winners on a domestic basis. And the Ukrainians have taught them how to really bootleg stuff. So there'll be a lot of cost savings in Europe. I think you'll see a wave of innovation across multiple industries. And I think the EU, if it's smart, will invest a hell of a lot of money in reindustrialization because that's their only hope. And they're going to be up against their green models and their environmental stuff. But when you have Bill Gates come out and say climate change is not going to end the planet, you're beginning to see a break in the autocrats, right? The fraud of climate change is going to destroy the planet isn't as important as you got to feed the kids and make sure that healthcare is delivered to people, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up now because that does seem to be the big concession they're having to make on the left this week. You see Bill Gates coming out and issuing that as a statement, and then what's funny is like all the leftist analysis I've seen of that is like, well, he's not really saying the exact words that he actually just said with his own mouth. What he's really saying is
no, exactly. They're trying to couch it, but I mean, he falls into the same category as Ketanji Johnson, which is Ketanji Jackson, which is I'm not a biologist, right? So what it shows is the absurdity of the prior policy. When somebody like that comes out, waves his hand and said, yeah, it's gone now. I mean, that's Al Gore. That's Al Gore talking about the planet freezing, right? But we all know that this has been a fraud for a long period of time. Now, weather, climate do contribute to risks, right? We just saw Jamaica get smashed, right? Big storms happen, flooding happens. Yeah. None of these third, fourth, and fifth world countries are prepared for this stuff. We know that. The concept that we can do something to stop these storms is an absurdity of epic proportion. And yet we finally see that the wall is failing. And it's part of the angst out of Europe now is it was their whole game was this environmental movement. right?
Was we're going to regulate the rest of you based on environmental policy, and we're going to use it as the moral club that we can beat you over the head with to allow us to regulate things which we never invented and have no natural control over.
Well, the whole carbon tax structure that was around the Euro socialist movement is a mechanism to tax and control. It is not a mechanism to solve the environmental problem, because Europe alone doing that can't offset China and the rest of the planet. It's an irrelevancy. It's a rounding error. And their desire was, hey, we're going to take all this stuff we learn and this stuff that gets paid for, and then the Chinese are going to take it on, and we're all going to save the planet. What they don't understand is the Chinese are going to take it on and do what the hell they want to do. And this whole kumbaya movement within the Green movement is just a carryover from the anti-nuclear movement that was funded by the Chinese and the Soviets back in the 60s and 70s, right? It's the same idiocy, which is you pump enough money in, you get the right people speaking about it. Read Jane Fonda, read John Kerry, read Bill Gates, read these foundations in Europe for the betterment of society. They all get sucked into wanting to go to Switzerland and Colorado every year. They want to go talk at Aspen. They want to go talk at WEP. It's their social milieu. The problem is reality begins to fail in those places, and you end up with these absurd, overreaching goals. And I think the biggest casualty out of this whole thing, other than the pride of the people who run these organizations, is going to be the United Nations, because in the same way that these organizations have been found out, the UN has been proven to be completely incompetent.
And not just incompetent, malicious.
Well, it's a fallout from USAID, and it's a fallout from the recognitions in Gaza. So that whole restructuring of the UN is to come, and that's going to be extremely painful for a lot of people, because it was a watering hole of the global intelligentsia, right? Much like Switzerland and much like Aspen.
It's
there you have it. That's all I know, man.
No, it's funny. These are all this is all music to my ears. Like everything, like literally everything you're saying is just, I couldn't smile any bigger. Oh no. Oh, couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people.
Well, it's okay. They're all out protesting in DC. But we'll see how it all shakes out. But so this thing in Africa, watching
what do you think? Are we going?
Yeah, watching. I hope not. Watching what went on in South Sudan and the ongoing pace of operations in places like Somalia and Joe's favorite place, Djibouti. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that Africa's in this state. And I would hope that people would step up. And when I say people, there are two people in Africa who can step up to help here. And that's Morocco, and in some ways Egypt, given the scope of their forces. But something needs to give in West Africa, because West Africa is very important to the United States. And I think the Trump White House recognizes that, but it's really hard to play in Africa. I mean, Joe will tell you, you've been on the ground there, Joe. It is just a hard place to play. And you don't want to go for a long time, because it's just difficult.
Well, actually, you know what? I just realized that I would be remiss if I let you go without having you comment on the first story from this segment, because it is your subject of expertise, one of many, I should say.
Bacon making?
No, China. We were talking about the deal that Trump and others are crowing about coming out of China, and maybe you can fix my doom and gloom here, because I went through this point by point, and I feel like we got nothing. I feel like we got the exact same kind of snowballed every other administration prior to this has got. Even like the most significant thing was China will make significant measures to end the flow of fentanyl. Significant measures. Because that's concrete and solid and measurable, and something you can actually say whether it's happened or not.
What you're getting is more of the same. Yeah, it'll be more of the same at this point.
So why is Trump crowing about this as a real win? Did they snow him? He actually thinks he won this?
No. They didn't snow him, but if he comes back and said we didn't get anything, it'll look bad. It's window dressing. It's window dressing Chinese Affairs 101, which is you end up in a cycle of having meetings to have meetings. So with the Chinese, he needs to be able to play the game of play the game he played with Carney, which is, okay, we're not going to have any meetings anymore. But given the scope of the problem with the Chinese, that's not going to happen because they need to solve the semiconductor, they need to solve the rare earth, they need to solve a series of things. And I think in Trump's mind, he's trying to engage the Chinese to move them away from the Russians. But I have feelings that that's going to be difficult to do in reality. So I think that's what the internal hope is. And it appears that the Trump foreign policy team operates with a lot of hope. They're the most aggressive and hopeful group I've seen in a while. So I wish them luck.
I've noticed that, and I hate to knock it because they do seem to have got a lot done, right?
Well, they have. Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed with the Middle East outcome. I'm kind of impressed with what they've done in Europe. Vis-a-vis China, I think the pivot to understanding that China's a difficulty is much better than the Biden White House, which was, don't touch it, it might hurt us. It allowed 4 more years of Chinese base development. I don't think we've solved the South China Sea problem. We haven't solved the first island chain problem for Japan and Korea. We haven't solved Taiwan.
Hell, we haven't even solved the Philippines.
Well, the Philippines is going to do what the Philippines does, but we're talking about putting billions of dollars in infrastructure in the Philippines, and that.
Oh, I was meaning that very recently we've basically said, hey, stop fucking with the Philippines boats or we're going to fuck with you. And nothing has happened since then and no one has talked about it.
Well, that's because it doesn't suit the timeline. The Chinese Coast Guard has closed off a couple of the atolls. There were the Filipinos fish. They're going to, as we talked about in shows before, this is going to come off in big chunks now, much less slicing, and it'll be the kind of thing where you'll have another vessel rammed or you'll have somebody seized. The part that I'm most concerned about in Asia is that they will take on the Trump model of aggressively stopping vessels and doing inspections. And the one trigger that keeps me up at night is they stop the ship on the way to Taiwan and they find that it's full of weapons coming from country X.
Undeclared, yeah.
And they see, this maritime law is funky. But if the Chinese say, we're going to seize this vessel bound for Kaohsiung, let's say, and it has armored vehicles from, name it, right, wherever they're buying, us,
right,
Europe,
Australia, wherever. Yeah.
They'll redirect it to Hong Kong and they'll go through this big inspection brouhaha and say you're importing arms into China, right? It happened to the Singaporeans. Singaporeans had an armored vehicle that was being transited to Taiwan for training. It was on its way back. It ended up hitting Hong Kong, and the Chinese grabbed it and said, hey, this is a weapon of war. It's not allowed, right? It wasn't disclosed, and it's coming from China, and it's in China. And so if China begins to play those games, it'll escalate quickly. And that's my nightmare scenario vis-a-vis China and the South China Sea.
And ball is in their court for that, so far as I understand.
Well, again, we're setting precedent in the Caribbean right now with Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't very well complain when they do it back. Joe, you wanted me to bring this up for everyone.
Yeah, so this is important. I just wanted to show everyone a map of Djibouti. And for no specific reason. That's it.
Djibouti appears to have a crack and a hole in it.
It does.
It's a cheeky place, Joe.
It's very sketchy. Very sketchy. So.
Yeah, but there's good Chinese food at Lemonnier, so you're good. You're good.
It's larger than you think.
Yeah. Thank you, Derna. Thank you.
Very good. Well done.
All right, everybody.
Stuff, Well, but welcome back to the mountains, Joe.
You know what? It's fantastic to be back here. I was happy that I did not encounter snow the entire way. Well, there was a touch of it up at McDonald Pass, but other than that, it was all right. I was
Wow.
worried about it. I was worried about it.
And all the folks in North Carolina enjoyed their 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A great bunch of guys. We had a huge group, and everyone really enjoyed it. Matt said that we wished you were there when we had the brisket and a couple of other good things. But a couple tall tales were told about you vanishing into the woodline with a sleeping bag by various folks who witnessed it. And I told them, "It's hardcore, man."
Jim likes to sleep. Jim likes to sleep alone when they're drunk men rambling about.
Yeah.
How did the Kyber Optics perform?
Outstanding. You know what? That's what I wanted to say back when we were doing the ad. I just put a Kyber Optics 1 to 10 LVPO on an AR, and it took me 6 rounds to zero it and 3 to get it all bullseyes. I mean, 3 more. So a total of 9 rounds. I was dialed into making one very small hole. So they are fantastic optics, and for that price point, I know a lot of you might say, "Hey, look, $449 is a lot of money." Not for that optic. That is dirt cheap for an optic of that quality, and they're fantastic tools. So,
Yeah, they look really, really good. I was impressed with the engineering that he had done on those. I love the reticle choices too. They're pretty cool.
yeah, the reticles are pretty fantastic, and they got another shipment while we were there, and some of us were press ganged into unloading the shipment, but that's okay. It gave me a chance to see what all new came in, so good stuff. It's funny. A funny brush beater store story is we took the class there, the fieldcraft class there, then we took the scout class there later, but while the fieldcraft class was there, somebody, I'm not going to mention who they are, but they know who they are, decided to pull one of the brush beater axes out, right, and take a look at it. There is now one in the store that has been seasoned with Puerto Rican blood, and I think you could probably have to pay extra for that one. But out of the box, they are ridiculously sharp, so please be careful. And we got to try out one of the North American Rescue med kits that Brush Beater sells. So pretty cool. Good times.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm glad I hopped on. I'm very glad that you guys are talking a little bit about Africa, because I think it's a big deal. And I hope people in Washington are thinking clearly about this one, because it's going to be around for a long time, and we've got to keep our friends on the west coast of Africa close to us, because if we don't fill the void, the Chinese will.
And it's important that people understand that the gap between Nigeria and the U.S. is artificial. It's not true. They've been an ally. They're still an ally, and they actually want the help, despite what the media is telling you.
Yeah, it's interesting. The people who speak for these issues, they tend to be highly biased by who pays their bills. I think people need to spend some time looking at Nigeria, not from the standpoint of humor and its history, but from the potentialities and some of the young leaders. Go look at some of the young leaders under 55. Look at some of the ladies who've gotten involved. And it's interesting to study the threats they are under as they break into politics, because many of them come from silver spoon families, but they've been really well trained, and they're still pretty good supporters of the country. It's just hard because you've got such a corrupt underlayment in a lot of those political organizations across the various states. But there are people out there making efforts to be good leaders in Nigeria, and they need support, and they need support from the Nigerian diaspora, and that's the hard part, because the people who stay home don't necessarily like the people who go away. But London has to get behind this. So does New York, Houston, where all the diaspora money is, and then Nigeria has a good chance of getting over the hump here.
All right. Well, real quick, Joe, what do you got for the folks for the rest of the week?
let me first answer Billy Blogs. If you have a high point, you don't need an optic. Just throw the rifle at them. Next of all, for the week, I think we're going to see some kinetic action in Venezuela, to be honest. So I would be paying attention to all that goes on down there. There was a very interesting period of absolute GPS outage twice over the weekend. And that is setting the stage and letting everyone know, making this the new normal. Hey, look, GPS is off, GPS is on, GPS is off. And one of these times, right behind the GPS going off will be a wall of bombers. So I think that you'll see strikes against military targets and against port facilities that are facilitating drug smuggling. Just because at this point, everyone's daring Trump to do it, and we all know how Trump reacts when people dare him to do things. He shows them by doing exactly what they said. I don't know that we'll actually see anything kinetic in Nigeria. You might see some sort of symbolic statement about us supporting Nigerian ground operations with surveillance assets, which is probably the most likely course.
Yeah, the thing that the Nigerians need is sustainability. They need helilift. So they need transport badly. Transport and logistics. It's just non-existent. So, and this discussion of the AU should be doing things, please.
Even the AU has problems. When they went to deploy Kenyan troops to Haiti, they required transport because they don't have any organic transport capability. So that's an important point. That reminded me, though. You talking reminded me. Remember the other day, I wanted to say this the other day, but my connection was cutting out. We showed that video out of Burma, right? Or Myanmar, whatever they call themselves this week. Of all of I wanted to play the audio with it for a reason. Jim, do you remember the day when you guys were here and I said, if you're going to shoot a Rock Island pistol, you have to shout random phrases in Tagalog? That video that we just saw was the effect I was looking for.
Yeah, it was.
You had a good laugh, huh? Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, they build a decent 1911.
Yeah. Jim, how about you? What do you got for the upcoming week?
I can't talk about it, but busy. But I figured I'd hop on since I heard you were solo.
Oh no, I appreciate it, but I meant predictions for the folks of what's going to be coming up this week.
What's going to happen? Don't underestimate the Korean agreement. Don't underestimate the new Japanese prime minister. Underestimate the Chinese because the Chinese are playing fast and loose. She's under a hell of a lot of pressure domestically. So he needs to sort something out. And I think the Chinese, I'm going to say there's 50-50 the Chinese help with Ukraine. And the way they help with Ukraine is curtailing purchases of energy from the Russians. We'll see how it goes. That's something we can watch, though. You can watch it. And they will slow ride the energy purchases. I'm going to be really surprised if we get the soybean buy. If the Chinese buy soybeans, it's not because they want to be nice. If the Chinese buy soybeans, it's because they need soybeans.
Makes sense. I've heard that they had a pretty weak crop this year.
There you go. So,
go ahead.
No, so just have a little faith in Trump's foreign policy team. Best foreign policy team we've had since Reagan. So, more power to him.
All right. My prediction, one of them falls in a near category, which is Ukraine. I think I have seen reliable signs, in my opinion, that the Ukraine war is about to wrap up. And those reliable signs are Western media starting to run, hey, wait, is this Zelensky guy really as good as we've all been portraying him to be? Articles I've seen two thus far. I expect that as a dam breaking. And I suspect that's a dam breaking for a reason. So, yeah, I'd look for movement on the Ukraine front this week. I
would tend to agree with you.
Let's see. Yeah, and Venezuela. I'd look for Venezuela to kick off this week. What Joe said about the GPS stuff. There's more than one way to make GPS not work in a given area, and one of the easiest ways is for the U.S. military to just say, "And we're going encrypted." They have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And they generally do that right before they're about to bomb something, or in preparation to bomb something, or when they're marking out targets to bomb something. Yeah. He's already basically said it's going to happen, which is funny because Joe and I were just talking before the chat here. Tulsi Gabbard came out yesterday to issue a big long speech about how the era of U.S. regime change is over. And I said, Maduro unavailable for comment. So yeah, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all for the donations, particularly Low Key LARP for all those gifted subs. We appreciate the heck out of all of you. And as Scott would say, stay safe.